Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss Pre-Market Report for March 14th, 2017. I'm Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. We're looking at price holding below the 2376 half key level, forming an inside day in the prior session, and right now inside the previous session's range as well. So we have a very tightly coiled range at the moment. We are heading into Wednesday's FOMC statements and Fed funds interest rate decision. And so right now we could be in a continued holding pattern heading into that event. However, 2376 half will continue to be the key level and the key pivot to watch. At the moment, there was a rejection above it. Bears are defending it, which means there are buy stops building above it, in addition to bears looking to extend the move downward. So we know what's happening at the moment. Now we got to see how this thing plays out around that zone. Overall, the expectation is that further strength is going to be seen regardless of if we get a pullback first or if we just push through those stops immediately. So right now we're still in a very bullish market. Any rotation into this LVN could be a significant buying opportunity, but right now we haven't seen much of a pullback to suggest we would even see that pullback, that magnitude of pullback right now. So we got to continue to see how the market responds here heading into tomorrow's event. Now, taking a look at the intraday time frame, here we are. This one, you can see that there's a very tight range that's playing out from 2366 to 2372. That's the overnight range right now that's playing out. However, the wider range into 76 half and down into 2353, that's the impulse range right there, with the midpoint around 66s. That's the impulse range to watch right now with its key boundaries. Looking to fade those edges provides the best opportunity at the moment as we head into the FOMC. All right, let's take a look at crude oil here. Here's crude, very tightly coiled range the previous session. If you look at the higher time frame charts with the pivots here, you'll notice right here that price actually formed kind of a rejection tail in the previous session, closed above the open, closed above the previous week's low and close, leaving behind a rejection tail below there. And right now, at the moment, you can see bulls are defending the midpoint of the previous session's range right at the previous week's low. So all of this implies at least short-term strength, but I mentioned before, there's such a wide range from last week's range, a major range here, that we would likely see a bounce and then a hold within a tighter range this week. So we could see a little bit more bounce here, especially if price continues to hold above the previous week's low, back toward the pivot range, perhaps a little higher into 49.50, 50 evens, and then from there we could see this thing swing back and form some sort of range. So right now, looking short-term up, but overall this thing, any bounce is still likely to be a counter trend move as this thing likely tries another leg lower. Keep that in mind. Looking at an intraday time frame here, here's the lower time frame. You can see how tightly coiled the previous session's range was. Here's the previous week's low, previous week's close, higher lows the entire time, lower highs, very tightly coiled. And then here this morning, a little bit of an upside break, double top and pulling back below the previous high right now. So right now we're still trying to hold above the previous close. I think any pullback into that zone, it's fuzzy in here, so it makes it more difficult, but I think defending this overall by the end of the day could provide a lift, which could shoot this thing back into resistance between 50 and 50.20. Any push into that zone is a major selling opportunity on first test up there. All right, let's take a look here at gold futures. Here's a look at gold. Let's bring it to the higher time frame for a moment. There we go. Now, with the higher time frame gold, one thing you'll notice with gold here is that after the pullback here, you saw the rejection into the pivot range that we were mentioning in the previous pre-market report. And I mentioned, given the current downtrending market, any bounce into that pivot range is likely to be seen as a selling opportunity by bears looking to retest the previous week's low and perhaps push this thing lower into the next support down below. Between 80 and 84 was the talk. So we saw price do just that, reject. Today we're holding at 1200 and pulling back. But if you look at this again, looking into the lower time frame, what we left with yesterday was the idea that we should sell 1206 to 1207 right in this zone on a pullback for a shot lower. And price came right into 1206s, hit 1206.5, 1206.4, and then from there returned and dropped as low as 1200 and is now bouncing back to the source up there. So again, this is going to provide another opportunity on an intraday basis to sell it and turn it into a potential swing trade opportunity through 1200 and again into those 1180s down below. All right, lastly, let's take a look at ZB. Here's ZB. Let's go up to the higher time frame. At the moment, we're still rolling lower after failing to hold through support. I talked about how large this pattern was. Very, very large pattern here, where bulls were defending, and they tried again, and the stop started to come out. You're not just going to get a move down to the next key level or even the one below it. We reached 146s. The expectation is we're likely going to continue even lower still into the next MCV down below. That's going to bring up a target at 143.20 and as high as 143.24. So right in that zone, we could still see further weakness into this target down below, pullbacks to be defended for continuation downward still on a swing basis. Now, pulling this thing into an intraday time frame right now, our expectation yesterday was that any bounce into 147.12 would be a selling opportunity on a swing basis. That was a pre-market bounce, but we didn't see much till then. We saw a bounce off the lows, failed to get above VWAP, and the next bounce didn't materialize, instead becoming resistance. So right now, 146.13 was support yesterday, could now become resistance today as this thing continues to travel lower toward the next support level down below 143.20 to 143.24. All right, that's it for now. Let's see how this plays out heading into the rest of the day. Good luck and trade well.